What's happening, y'all? Well, I think I got the big draft board in a good place right now. So let's take a little tour, see how it looks, see how it works, and start thinking about what we're going to work on next. How's that sound? All right. So let's take a look. I'm pretty excited about how this thing works. It definitely fits within the vision that I have for this game. So I think it's going to be kind of fun. Let's take a look at this. So the intent of this in big picture terms, right? You're going to start, I don't know, scouting for the draft, right? You're going to get the whole draft list. This list right here is everybody who's eligible for the draft. 320 players. Now, when you go to the draft is going to be timed. So you're not just going to like sit there forever and scout every player, right? You need to have some prep work done. This big board, the big draft board, is intended to be where you organize your thoughts, you categorize like these guys are first round talent, these guys are second round talent. You put them in order, right? This top to bottom, this is my number 1 player, this is my number 10 player, this is my number 100 player. Here are the guys I'm not even interested in. So that when draft time comes, you've already done all the work, and it's a lot easier to do. I'd say to figure out who the right pick is, or if I want to do a trade or something like that. Right now, the timer's not going to be so fast that like you're just going to be, oh my God, click, 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 click. And I'm probably going to let you stop the timer or something like that. But the draft board is going to be a place you're going to want to spend some time here, right? You're going to want to use this to organize your draft. So with that being said, here's how it works. So like I said, here's the whole draft list, all 320 players. It comes in initially sorted by league rank. What league rank is it's not the overall rating of the players from top to bottom. It's the overall value of the players. So what that takes into account is its overall rating. What is the relative value of that position compared to all the other positions? And then some like adjustments for age and things like that. So, right in this draft file, old Joe Burrow was rated a 78. But you can see he's ahead of this tight end that's an 84, this wide receiver that's an 81, both these linebackers that are in the 80s, right? So he's ahead of a lot of players that have a higher overall, but he's a quarterback, right? And quarterbacks are worth more than these positions. So that's kind of how that works. The my rank is what we're working on right now. And I'll show you, you'll see that in play in a minute. Right. But it starts off, before we've done any work, it starts off just the same as the league rank, right? Just to make it easy. And then you got all the normal player information, right? Age, class, speed, strength, potential, blah, blah, blah. There's this scouted rate, this scouted column, which is you're going to do some scouting stuff. You're going to hire a scouting staff. You're going to give them assignments, right? You're going to go to the combine. You're going to do interviews and workouts and all that stuff. And then your scouted rating is going to go up. And what that does then is it makes all of the other ratings a little less uncertain. So right now, we don't have hardly anybody scouted at all. So you might look at somebody like, let's see if we find anybody. Yeah, here we go. Justin Herbert, right? He came in as a 72. He's got 96 potential. Well, he hasn't been scouted very much. So like, does he really have 96 potential? I don't know. He might have 96. He might have something far different than that. We don't know really, because we haven't really scouted him. But like the initial impression everybody has of Herbert is he has 96 potential. So scouting is what you're going to do to figure out, get a little more accuracy on these things, right? They're not all going to be wildly crazy, but it sure would be nice to know, right? The my rating, again, that's the thing you can play around with and do whatever you want with it. It doesn't really do anything. It's nothing other than a signal that you give yourself about players. It doesn't do anything. I mean, you can sort by my rating, which sometimes is useful, but it doesn't really do anything. It's for you, by you. This projection column is going to be interesting. That's something I'm going to work on pretty soon. In real life, when all these college players enter the draft, right? Nobody really knows who any of these guys are. Like most casual fans, most NFL fans don't watch that much college football. So they know every single player, what their college career was like entering the draft. So what happens is you got like the Mel Kipers, you got the like Todd McShay, all these guys do all these mock drafts, right? They tell you who's a first round talent. They tell you, this or that. And there's all these mock drafts and, here's what the top 5 picks are going to look like and blah, blah, blah. Well, as annoying as that can be sometimes, it does a really good job of letting everybody know kind of where everybody's going to be drafted, right? So when draft day comes, if you pay any attention, you kind of know who's going to be a first rounder. You kind of know who's going to be a second or third rounder, right? You may not know the guys, but as the draft goes on, you'll see, that guy fell. He was supposed to be a first rounder. Now it's the second round. I hope we get him. That would be a steal. Or, if like the Raiders draft a guy who is projected to be a 4th rounder, it's like, maybe that wasn't a great pick. So this projection column is intended to take the place of all those like analysts, media, mock draft, right? It's supposed to tell you kind of what the value is of the player, roughly where we think he's going to be drafted. That projection is going to be generated by like some mock drafts, some rankings and things like that. But it's basically going to be a simulation of the media doing all that work for you, right? And the reason I want to do that is because like I think it's useful during the draft to know like, hey, there's 4 guys that the league that were projected to go in the first round that are still around on the second round. Like that's good information to know. Or, hey, a couple of guys that were projected to be in the 3rd round already got drafted in the 2nd round. So like, it's just like, that's good stuff. So that's what that is. This little section over here, the my draft round grade, this is where you do your work for the most part. So I try to make it as simple as possible. I really like where this ended up. Should be fun and easy to do, which is kind of the point for a lot of this stuff. And all you do is you take a look at these guys and you say, all right, this middle linebacker, he's awesome. 89 overall, obviously way too high for a rookie, but that's what the import file had him as, something like that. And I say, you know what? He's a first, I'm going to give him a first round grade. So all I do is I click on the first round bookmark. This quarterback, 88 speed. It's kind of impressive. I'm not really in the market for a running quarterback, so I'm going to give him a 2nd round tag. I would take him in the 2nd. This wide receiver first. Joe Burrow first, right? This tight end, probably more like a 3rd. I'll give him a 3rd. And you just kind of go and look through these guys and you give them grades based on what you like. Ooh, I like these linebackers. I like that receiver. Tackle, maybe second. Jerry Jeudy. No, I'm going to change my mind on Jeudy. Let's make him a 1st, right? And you just kind of go up that quarterback to make him a 3rd, second. Ooh, this running back's nice. 1st. But you don't take a running back in the 1st. So 2nd. This tackle, 2nd. Tua, 4th. So that's the first cut. That's the first cut you do on building your draft board. Now, the interesting thing is, as I'm doing this, if you look over here on the my rank is in real time being updated, right? So when I mark somebody a 2nd round, he's automatically going to be slotted below everybody in the 1st round. So you can see this quarterback, the league says he's the number 2 rank. On my board, he's number 9. So if I sort by my rank, you can see, all your 1st rounders come before all your second round grades, come before all your third round grades, come before all your fourth round grades. And maybe I change my mind on somebody and I say, you know what, that quarterback is worth a first. This wide receiver, it's too early to take receivers. I'm going to make both of these receivers seconds. All my first round receivers are going to make seconds, but I do like that running back. I'm going to make him a first. And then if I kind of see the result of that in my rank, you can see it just adjusts. So that's the first cut of making your big board, is giving everybody round grades. Now you don't have to give everybody a grade, right? That's 320 players, and most of these guys you're not going to care about, right? You scroll way down here, like who cares with a lot of these guys, right? So you just give whoever you want to give grades to, you give them grades. You don't have to rank everybody. So first cut, but maybe I look at my first round draft group and I say, you know what, this isn't the right order. I don't like this order. Then you just go to look at your first rounders, and here's where you can fine tune it. You can say, you know what, I need to come out of this with a running back. So I'm going to move this running back up above both linebackers and Wolford. Like I like Wolford, but he's 24 already. He's running quarterback. I'm not that interested right now. So I'm going to move him up. So all you do is you just move him up, right? I like this linebacker, but I would take Burrow over him. That seems about right. Out of these two linebackers, I like this guy because he's got more strength. Okay, this quarterback's probably better than that guy. And you just make your orders, and then you say, oh, maybe you know what? He's probably not a first rounder. I changed my mind. I'm gonna make him a second rounder. So now let's go to my second round board, and you can see, all right, that guy I just made a second rounder is there, and now I can adjust this. I'll say, all right, we're gonna go him first, Judy second, him third. Well, I like this D end. Let's actually move him pretty high. Let's move him right around there, right? Oh, I really need a tackle. Let's move him up to the top. No, that's too high. I'm gonna move him down, right? This defensive end, probably a little too high. Let's make him a third. Let's make him a third. All right, now let's go to my third round. Let's do some adjustments here. Okay, that actually looks pretty good. Tight end, move him up. Let's move defensive end up. So that's all you do. And then you drag and drop, fine tune. And then if you go back to all players and you sort by my rank, you can see the ranking is now updated based on my fine tuning. Now the intent is when you get to the draft, you can't change your order anymore, right? This is all pre-draft prep. When you get to the draft, you're going to have access to all these round things and probably some other actually pretty interesting screens to give you a little more analysis. But the intent is, right, you do all the sorting and stuff before you get to the draft, and you just consume that information during the draft to help you figure out who to pick. So if you think about it like that, I think the system works really well. It's got some, quality of life stuff that I haven't quite finished fixing. Like you should, once I get the buttons all wired up, you're going to be able to sort by speed here just to put guys in your grade. Now, obviously, when you go to your round, you can't sort within your round because then that overrides you putting them in orders, right? Right. You can't put them in order and then click sort, and then your whole order that you just spent all that time doing gets thrown out the window. Like that doesn't make a lot of sense. But when you're here, you're going to be able to sort to, like I can sort by overall, and then I can decide, okay, well, here's a bunch of 80s that aren't even on my list. Let's give these guys grades now, right? And then, or you could sort by potential and say, okay, here's some really low guys with high potential. I'm going to make sure I give those guys a draft grade. And then you just go and again, you fine tune it here. Like this guy, I actually really like him. Let's move him up. What else? Oh, you can filter on the everybody list. Again, you can filter by position to make it a little easier. So let's say I want to filter by tight end because I need a tight end. Want a guy who's really athletic. I don't see one. Doesn't look like there's any athletic tight ends in this draft. There's some fast ones. This guy's got decent potential, but I don't see any like fast and strong ones. So I probably would pass on that. What else? Free safeties. I like free safeties. Let's look for a good free safety. These guys have terrible potential, but they're fast. So like maybe this Burgess guy, maybe I take a look at him in the 3rd round. Right, Blackman. Oh, he's pretty fast. Maybe we'll look at him in the 3rd round. Maybe the 4th round. Maybe the 3rd round. So you can see it's pretty easy, right? I'll look at corner. Ooh, Scott's got 100 speed and 93 potential. He's ranked, league rank 52. If I saw the projection here, once the projection's done, maybe it would say like projected 3rd round. I'd say, ooh, well, I really, really, really want him. So maybe I would give him a little marker to remind myself. And I would say something like, look at him in the 2nd round talent. Then I'd go to my 2nd round and I would probably move him up a little bit, maybe not super high. Depending on how much I needed a corner, maybe I'd stick him up there somewhere. And then when draft day came, I would have my list. And as these guys all got taken off my list, right, these guys would move up. And then hopefully it would be really easy for me to figure out who I want to draft, or at least really do a good job of giving me the options that I know I'm interested in. So yeah, that's how it works, right? The player profile button will work. It's not wired up right now, but I like it. I like it so far. So anyway, kind of the same basic systems as the depth chart screen. I'm sort of developing the whatever they call it, the visual language or the vibes of the game as I go. I think now that I've got 2 of the more interesting and meaningful screens in this early stage done, I'm kind of settling in on that look. I do like it. One of the things I really like, how I have like the buttons as little tabs on the side of the windows. I found that system saves me a ton of space. Like in my previous attempts at making some of these windows, like it's just the position filter buttons alone used to take up so much space. And then all of the actions I want to give you, like when you start adding up those buttons, they just take up so much space. And like somehow, I don't know, I think I just was on a walk and I had this idea of like, I was going to do folder tabs across the top, but that takes a ton of space too. And then for some reason I was like, oh, what about little flags on the side? And I tried it and it saves so much space. So I'm really happy with that. It's also going to allow me to give you more things you can do on a screen without like overwhelming the space with buttons. So that'd be cool. I do like I do like how it's going. I like the drag and drop. I was a little worried it was going to be too busy, but I love it. I love the drag and drop for everything, like fine tuning everything, way more than what I'd used before. So I'm pretty happy with how it's going. What am I going to work on next? The ultimate goal is to drive towards a fully functional college draft. Like that's the first major feature I want to have done. One, because it's fun for me to do. It's fun for me to play with. But also I think it's interesting for people to look at. And I can, hopefully get people excited by showing the draft. Plus there's just a lot of things you have to have done in order to do a draft. So it's a really good way to make sure all the really critical systems are working before I dive into some of these other screens, like the schedule and the standings and schedule. Like you really don't need a lot of systems to do those. But if you do them too early, you run the risk of like setting up a style or a vibe that like didn't really rely on a lot of systems to be working in order for you to create these screens. And then when you create the standing screen and it works, and you create the schedule screen and it works, but nothing else really uses those systems. And then you go to try to create the roster screen, and all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, all of this stuff I wrote for the standings and the schedule screen aren't going to work for the roster because the roster needs so many more components. Now I got to go back and redo work on the standings and the schedule. That's what I'm trying to avoid by doing the hardest systems first. So like I'm going to do the draft, trades, depth chart. I already did that. Like scouting, all that stuff's coming first because those are the hard things. And then all the other screens are going to be based on what I came up with to make the hard stuff work. So anyway, that's where we are, working towards the draft. I don't really know what the very next thing I'm going to work on. Like, what am I going to work on tomorrow? I don't know. Not sure yet. It's a toss up right now between something with scouting and maybe just starting to jump into the draft screen itself. It's going to kind of depend on which one I have better ideas for. I think I'm going to go for a bike ride in a little bit. And that's usually where my good ideas come from, is when I'm out exercising. So I might go for a bike ride or a walk and just see if inspiration strikes me. And if inspiration hits me on one of those screens, that's the one I'll start, or a different screen. I don't know. We'll see. But ultimately, we're driving towards the draft. All right. That's it. That's all I got for today. Stay tuned. I do think this weekend you're going to have at least one stream. I don't know which day. I apologize. I'm not very good at scheduling these things ahead of time until we get a cadence going. But if you want to pop in and ask questions and say hi, feel free. I got to do some stuff that I like doing on stream, like setting up team colors, stuff like that. I have to do that. So I like to do those things on stream. So feel free to pop in. All right. Anyway, that's it. That's all I got. See you later.